Have you ever been told to just think positively when life felt like collapsing around you? Maybe you were grieving a loss, facing a terrifying diagnosis, or simply struggling to get out of bed. And then someone, perhaps even yourself, whispered the magic phrase, "Stay positive." It sounds kind, even empowering. But what if that seemingly innocent mantra carried a shadow? What if the insistence on positivity could actually make you weaker, lonelier, and further from the truth you need to heal? This is the hidden cost of positive thinking, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. The culture of relentless optimism didn't appear by accident. From self-help books to corporate seminars, we're taught that positive thinking is the key to success, happiness, and health. We're told that our thoughts shape our reality, that gratitude changes our brain, and that negativity is a poison to be purged. On the surface, it sounds uplifting. Who doesn't want a brighter outlook? Yet beneath the glow of motivational posters lies a darker truth. Forced positivity can become a mask, a denial of reality, and a trap that keeps you from authentic growth. Think about the moments when you've tried to stay positive no matter what. Perhaps you told yourself, "It's fine, everything happens for a reason," even as your chest ached with unspoken grief. Perhaps you smiled through a toxic relationship because you feared that expressing anger or sadness would make you negative. In those moments, positive thinking stops being a tool and becomes a shield, a way to avoid discomfort instead of facing it. The very emotions you suppress are the ones you most need to acknowledge. Psychologists have a name for this: toxic positivity. It's the pressure to be happy, hopeful, and upbeat, no matter how painful your reality is. Toxic positivity tells you that negative emotions are failures, obstacles, or moral flaws. It whispers that if you're sad, you're weak. If you're angry, you're unspiritual. If you're afraid, you're manifesting bad outcomes. But human beings aren't designed to be permanently cheerful. Emotions exist for a reason. Grief signals loss. Anger signals a violation. Fear signals danger. When you bypass those signals, you lose vital information about your life and yourself. The dark side of positive thinking also shows up in relationships. When you're convinced that good vibes only is the highest virtue, you might start rejecting or shaming people who express pain. You might cut off a friend who's depressed because their mood brings you down. You might gaslight a partner by saying, "Stop being so negative," instead of listening to their concerns. In this way, forced positivity doesn't just silence your own feelings, it silences others. It creates a culture of isolation where everyone is performing happiness and no one feels safe to be real. This obsession with positivity can even erode mental health. Studies show that people who feel pressured to be happy often end up feeling worse. When you tell yourself, "I must be positive," you add a second layer of suffering to whatever you're already going through. Not only are you hurting, but you're also ashamed of hurting. This double burden fuels anxiety, depression, and self-criticism. The more you fight your so-called negative emotions, the more they intensify. What you resist persists. And yet, positive thinking has its champions for a reason. Optimism can boost resilience. Gratitude can shift perspective. Visualization can improve performance. The problem isn't positivity itself. The problem is imbalance. When positivity becomes compulsory, it stops being a choice and starts being a cage. Real strength isn't about smiling through the storm. It's about acknowledging the storm and still choosing how to navigate it. Real healing doesn't come from denying pain, but from moving through it. So why do we cling to the myth of unbroken positivity? Part of it is cultural. In many societies, especially those obsessed with productivity and image, there's little room for vulnerability. Sadness is unprofessional. Anger is unstable. Fear is weak. We reward people who look like they have it all together and quietly punish those who don't. Social media amplifies this. Scroll through your feed and you'll see highlight reels of happiness, success, and adventure. Rarely do you see raw grief, honest struggle, or messy transformation. The result is a feedback loop of false cheer, everyone pretending for everyone else. everyone feeling secretly inadequate. Another reason is fear. Pain scares us. Other people's pain scares us. It reminds us of our own fragility. So we reach for the quick fix of positive thinking like a bandage over a deep wound. We hope that if we repeat enough affirmations, if we chant enough mantras, if we manifest hard enough, we won't have to touch the darkness inside us. But avoiding the darkness doesn't make it disappear. It only makes it stronger in the shadows. There's also a more subtle danger. When we believe that our thoughts alone create reality, we can start blaming ourselves for everything that goes wrong. Get sick? You must have been thinking negatively. Lose your job? You didn't visualize success enough. This mindset turns misfortune into moral failure. It erodes compassion for ourselves and for others. Instead of acknowledging systemic injustices, random accidents, or simple human limitations, we retreat into a fantasy of total mental control. And when that fantasy breaks, the crash is brutal. This is the paradox at the heart of positive thinking. Used wisely, it can be a powerful ally. Used blindly, it becomes a tyrant. The same affirmations that uplift you one day can shame you the next. The same gratitude practice that opens your heart can become a ritual of self-blame when you can't feel grateful enough. To navigate this paradox, you need more than slogans. You need discernment. You need the courage to let reality in, even when it's unpleasant, and the wisdom to choose your response from a place of honesty, not fear. Imagine someone standing on a beach watching a storm roll in. One approach is to close their eyes, smile, and say, "It's sunny, it's sunny, it's sunny," while the sky darkens. Another approach is to admit a storm is coming and decide whether to seek shelter, build a barrier, or dance in the rain. The second person isn't negative. They're realistic. They're empowered. They're not controlled by their hope or their fear. They're informed by reality. That's the shift we need to make, from forced positivity to authentic presence. Authentic presence doesn't reject positivity. It puts it in its rightful place. It says, "I'm allowed to hope. I'm allowed to be grateful. But I'm also allowed to be sad, angry, scared, or tired." It recognizes that all emotions are data, not dangers. By welcoming them, you become more resilient, not less. By feeling them, you can move through them instead of getting stuck in them. That's not negativity. That's maturity. This is the hidden truth about positive thinking that nobody talks about. It's not inherently good or bad. It's a tool, and like any tool, it can heal or harm depending on how you use it. The question is not, am I thinking positively enough? But am I thinking authentically? Are your affirmations rooted in denial or in hope? Is your gratitude practice a living experience or a performance? Are you using positivity to face life or to avoid it? When you begin to ask those questions honestly, something profound happens. You stop measuring your worth by how cheerful you appear. You stop judging your pain as failure. Instead, you start building a deeper kind of strength, the strength of self-awareness, of emotional flexibility, of compassion. You start to understand that being human is not about staying in one mood forever, but about learning to ride the waves of many moods with honesty and grace. Consider how children experience emotions. They cry when they're sad, laugh when they're happy, scream when they're frustrated. They move through feelings fluidly, without shame. Only later do they learn to label certain emotions as bad and to hide them behind smiles. Reconnecting with your authentic self means reclaiming that natural ability to feel without judgment. It means allowing your sadness to be sadness, your anger to be anger, and your joy to be joy, without forcing one to erase the other. This shift also transforms how you relate to others. When you stop idolizing constant positivity, you become a safer person for those around you. Friends and loved ones can come to you with their pain without fearing they'll be scolded for being negative. You can hold space for their anger, grief, or fear without rushing to fix it. In doing so, you deepen your relationships and create an atmosphere of trust. True connection isn't built on endless cheerfulness. It's built on shared humanity. Letting go of forced positivity doesn't mean sinking into despair. It doesn't mean giving up hope. It means embracing a fuller spectrum of experience. You can still practice gratitude while acknowledging injustice. You can still visualize a better future while grieving the past. You can still speak affirmations while telling yourself the truth about where you are now. Authentic positivity is spacious enough to include struggle. It doesn't demand that you erase your pain. It invites you to hold pain and hope side by side. This is where real growth begins. Because when you allow yourself to feel the hard emotions, you unlock the lessons inside them. Grief teaches you about love and impermanence. Anger teaches you about boundaries and values. Fear teaches you about caution and courage. Each so-called negative emotion carries wisdom. Denying it cuts you off from that wisdom. Accepting it makes you wiser, stronger, and more compassionate, not in spite of your pain, but because of it. In practical terms, how do you move from toxic positivity to authentic presence? Start by noticing your inner dialogue. When something painful happens, do you immediately try to look on the bright side before you've even processed your feelings? Do you shame yourself for feeling down? Gently pause. Name what you're actually feeling. Say to yourself, "I feel sad," or "I feel scared," without trying to change it right away. Permit your emotions to exist. Next, practice mindful honesty in your conversations. If a friend asks how you're doing and you're not okay, experiment with saying so, even briefly. "I've been having a hard time," you might say, instead of "I'm fine." Notice how liberating it feels to speak the truth. Notice how it invites a deeper connection with others. This doesn't mean dumping your pain everywhere or rejecting hope. It means refusing to pretend. Another powerful practice is self-compassion. When you catch yourself in the loop of "I should be positive," respond with kindness instead of criticism. Remind yourself that you're not failing by having emotions. You're being human. Place a hand on your heart if it helps and say, "It's okay to feel what I feel." This simple act can interrupt the cycle of shame and begin to rewire your relationship with yourself. You can also redefine your use of positive thinking tools. Gratitude, affirmations, and visualization aren't the problem, they're tools. Use them after you've acknowledged your reality, not as a way to escape it. For example, you might journal your raw feelings first, then list things you're grateful for. Or you might visualize your goals while also naming the obstacles you face. This integrated approach makes your positivity more resilient and real. Over time, this balanced mindset builds a different kind of power. Instead of brittle optimism that shatters under stress, you cultivate flexible hope that bends and adapts. Instead of denying your humanity, you embrace it. You become someone who can walk through darkness without losing sight of light. Not because you're forcing light, but because you're honest enough to see both. This is the strength that carries you through life's storms far more reliably than any slogan. The truth no one talks about is that genuine positivity doesn't always feel positive. Sometimes it feels raw, messy, and uncomfortable. Sometimes it means crying before you can smile. Sometimes it means telling a hard truth instead of putting on a happy face. But on the other side of that discomfort lies something deeper than surface-level cheer, real joy. Joy that isn't fragile, joy that isn't a performance, joy that grows from facing life as it is. And when you live this way, you stop being afraid of negative emotions. You stop running from other people's pain. You stop using positivity as a shield. Instead, you develop what philosophers and psychologists call radical acceptance. You stop fighting reality and start engaging with it. That engagement, paradoxically, gives you far more power to change what you can and to find meaning even in what you can't. This is the dark side of positive thinking that few acknowledge. Not that positivity is bad, but that positivity without honesty is hollow. Yet once you bring honesty back into the picture, everything shifts. You don't have to choose between hope and truth. You can have both. You can tell the truth about your pain and still believe in your healing. You can face the storm and still look for the rainbow, not by pretending the storm isn't there, but by standing in it with open eyes. So the next time you feel pressure to stay positive, pause. Ask yourself, Am I using positivity to support myself or to silence myself? Am I building resilience or building a mask? The answer might surprise you. And if you find that you've been caught in the trap of toxic positivity, know this: you're not alone and you're not broken. You're waking up to a deeper, more authentic way of living. What do you think about the hidden costs of positive thinking? Have you ever felt pressured to be happy when you weren't? Share your experience in the comments below. Your story might help someone else feel less alone. And remember, real strength is not about denying your feelings, but about embracing them. If this message resonated with you, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more insights on psychology, self-awareness, and the courage to live authentically.